Yeah.
It's crazy how we have truly captured what we call the aha moment. We like to call it that. It's the, oh my gosh, I'm getting it. I'm actually understanding it. You can feel the neurons literally connecting, and you're like, I'm getting it. And you're playing it, and you're playing it so well. And then boom, you pass the level. Huge dopamine spike. Right?
Yeah. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Best You interview series. It's Gary here again. Thank you very much, as always, for taking the time to join me today. And today I'm delighted to be joined by co-founder of the music ed tech startup MuseFlow, Patrick Boylan, who's here to discuss how his approach to learning music revolutionises the learner experience. Through his experience with traditional music education combined with his innovative spirit, and this inspired him to co-found MuseFlow, which is often referred to as the Duolingo of music education, and we'll get a chance to chat about that throughout the conversation. MuseFlow revolutionises music learning by emphasising the development of bite-sized skills through sight reading, enabling students to read and play music at first sight rather than relying on repetitive practice, which was the absolute scourge of any music lessons I have ever had in my entire life. That's why I'm so excited by this conversation. This approach to skill acquisition makes learning music more engaging, more effective, and more rewarding compared to traditional methods. Patrick is passionate about education and educating audiences on self-teaching, sight reading, and guiding parents and teachers on how to leverage MuseFlow to help students achieve a flow state, enabling them to master a new instrument with greater accuracy and enjoyment. Lots and lots to unpack with that, and that's exactly what we are going to do. Patrick, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Gary.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure getting to know you a little bit before this, and so I was very much looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. And I know that I stumbled on a couple of words there, and I'm not a musician. That's exactly why I stumbled on those words, but not really. But the key part of this, in terms of the energy that Patrick brings to this, is it's, for me, the theme is leadership. The theme is experience. The theme is doing something about something that you care about, and having that visionary experience and then taking that into action, which I think is so inspirational. And I've been genuinely looking forward to this one. So I gave a wee bit of an overview there, but there's lots more to the story. So can you provide me a wee bit more background, please?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with traditional lessons, and as you say, the repetition and the going towards perfection is truly the scourge of learning anything. If we put that such a high lofty goal on ourselves, perfection, we're not, like, it's so rare that we ever achieve perfection. So you're already setting yourself up for failure at that point, you know? And so that's what my teacher wanted. And my parents had to ground me for not practicing piano because I just never wanted to practice, because I did not enjoy the process of practicing. And so after 8 years of lessons, hating every second of it, my teacher retired and I was alone. And I ended up finding a way to teach myself how to play piano that, you know, years later, we are porting that over. That is what MuseFlow it is sort of like. I used improvisation as my engine of my curriculum, putting the bite-sized elements, these little tiny little phrases that I found in my parents' sheet music. I put those inside of improvisations. But you can't really teach that, right, unless you already know how to play. And so we're using sight reading as our engine of our curriculum. So we give you music that you've never seen before, that never repeats. And it is constantly flowing at this very specific skill level that you're exercising, this new skill, whether that's a new note or a new rhythm. We give that to you in isolation, and then we slowly broaden the horizon to what you already know within the curriculum so far. And then you have to play it within the context of those skills. At a certain level, you have to play 95% accuracy at the goal tempo. You have to get 4 phrases in a row to pass the level. And so we're adding another step before actual songs. We're saying there's a new way to build skill here. Let's use technology to our advantage, and let's teach you that way, And so, yeah, I did not like music learning, and it was a problem with the curriculum and the methodology, not necessarily me wanting to not play the instrument. No, I loved playing the instrument. The problem was with the methodology,
Yeah. So you take that methodology, you actually take advantage of a circumstance, a situation that's out with your control, and you say, okay, this music teacher is retiring. I have an opportunity to do something different here. And then you take, as you say, you take your parents' sheet music and such. And I know there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of things that happened in between then. But how do you
Yeah, of
take that
course.
concept? Yeah, how do you take that concept and idea and then say, you know what? Possibly other people would be interested in this. I've achieved success with this. I wonder what this can be. How does that journey go for you?
That's an interesting sort of analysis, because it's true. Like that is ultimately what happened. I took the idea of my own education, and I said, maybe we could make this into an app that other people could enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think what it ultimately was domain expertise within my field. I'm a professional pianist here in Los Angeles. I've got 3 residencies here in LA at different restaurants and a piano bar that I play at. And so I was playing for like 4 years since then, kind of pivoted away from acting into music.
Yeah.
And so at that time I was having a great time, and I was just bored one day. I was like, what if there's a way to make the way that I taught myself into an app? So I started thinking about it. I really came up with the idea of like, oh, cool, sight reading as the engine. Okay, let's gamify it. Okay, there's 3 major parts of the app. We got exercises and theory. That's very, very important to music education. We have repertoire, songs that sell. So it was like very, very important to music education. And then the actual part, the curriculum itself, which is the skill acquisition, which is sight reading, right? And so I was like, oh, whoa, okay, cool. This is actually and so I brought it to my friend who's a music teacher.
Right.
And I was like, Steven, what do you think about this? And he's like, Pat, you have no idea. I've actually thought about a very similar idea. And so he opens up his computer, and there are just pages upon pages of notes and thoughts and ideas that he has. Such an intellectual. His name is Steven Gizzi. He's our CEO at MuseFlow. He's one of my best friends. Yeah. And so we ended up just getting to talking. He had the idea of using AI as music generation, because how are we going to create an indefinite amount of music that never repeats, that is at a very specific skill level, right?
Yeah.
It's impossible to write all of that.
Yeah. Because
it would be hours and hours and hours of music. It would be impossible. And so we kind of combined ideas. I had kind of this minimum viable product that I wanted to build, and he had the long-term scalability solution to it. And so we came together and just talked for hours. I think we spent maybe 80 hours, and we have all the recordings of it too. We have like 80 hours of discussion of like, cool, what is the core functionality of MuseFlow? And then what is the long-term functionality of MuseFlow? And we were like, great, let's bring it to some VCs and some venture capitalists. We had a couple meetings because it's like a great idea. Right? A couple of venture capitalists were like, this is a great idea. Have you guys ever built anything before? And we were like, oh, no. But it's a great idea, right? And they're like, yeah, but we're not going to give you millions of dollars until you actually prove that you can build something.
Right.
And so we were like, okay, so I guess we got to build the minimum viable product first.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. We've built the minimum viable product. We've gotten subscribers. We are paying for our overhead right now, and we're moving past that into profitability. We've just hit that benchmark actually last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's such a turning point in my opinion. It's like, wow, now the app is actually it's actually functional and people are still using it, and we have that many users to be able to it's really, really cool. So we ended up finding some software engineers, very Kismet-wise, to build this thing. Very Kismet-y. One was a friend of a friend that we met at a party, and we ended up going on a long hike with him and talking about MuseFlow. He's a software engineer, and we were like, let's just pick his brain about the agile method and software development. And he ended up pitching himself to us a week later. being like, this is why I want to work at MuseFlow. And then the other one was actually a pianist that I met at a gig. He was just sitting at the piano when I was supposed to come on in and start playing. And I go on up to him, I'm like, who are you? What are you doing? And he's like, oh yeah, I come on in here sometimes and like they feed me dinner and they just let me play, you know? And I was like, that's so cool. Let's go back and forth and play some songs. Yeah, he was playing this beautiful classical music, romantic. He's very, very good.
Yeah.
Turns out the dude's a software engineer. Turns out he's classically trained as a pianist. And I was like, okay. So I bought him dinner. I buttered him up. I showed him our pitch deck. And a week later, he texted me. He's like, Pat, I can't stop thinking about MuseFlow. And so I'm like, you want to come on? And he's like, yeah. And so this all happened within like a month. Very kismet, very luck. You know, but I mean, I don't know. What is luck? It's when preparation meets opportunity, right?
Yeah.
We were prepared. The opportunities arose. So yeah, that's and so we've just been developing this for the past 2-3 years now. We've been building it slowly but surely on our part-time, and we're all about to go full-time right now. This is like a wonderful moment in our lives that we came together as friends. And we're still working together at it too. And we're having a great time. I feel very lucky. It's kind of wild to me. So
yeah. Incredible. The very first time you mentioned minimum viable product, I was going to say, had you had any experience whatsoever in any sort of software delivery or anything along those lines in your past career or careers?
No. But I read a lot about it. I learned a lot about Agile. I learned a lot about the Scrum. I learned a lot about the product development lifecycle. I read a ton about it at the beginning of this entire venture because I knew that we were going to have to lead this thing. Nobody else has the domain expertise and the interest and knowing that this is such a special product and so specific.
Yeah.
There's nobody else that can actually build this and lead the team to success besides me and Steven. And so we really had to learn the product development lifecycle and how to build software. Thankfully, both of our engineers are very good teachers too, just outright. And so we kind of like, we relied on them to teach us to pare down. We came in being like, here's our minimum viable product. And it had all 3 sections to the app to it: repertoire, the sight reading trainer, and exercise and theory library. And they were like, that's your minimum viable product? We're like, yeah, right? This is it. And they're like, what is the sole thing that is going to get you to prove your value proposition in the market? What is that core functionality? And we had to think about that. Well, we were like, it's the sight reading trainer. It's teaching skills inside of sight reading. That is the thing that's really flipping music education on its head. That's the main differentiator between us and every other app out there.
Yeah.
So we decided to build that first. And then we actually just threw that in the market and saw what happened. And people started signing up. And that's when we realized, oh shit, maybe we actually have traction here. And so we started that user feedback development lifecycle. We started adding in more features that they wanted because they were our early adopters and we did not want them to leave. Right. Yeah. So we added in a bunch of stuff that they asked for. We kept building what we wanted. We had a very narrow bandwidth. We only had 2 engineers.
Yeah.
And so we had to prioritize between what we wanted to build and then what our users wanted us to build. Yeah. If we thought there was an inflection point here where like some users were going to leave, if we didn't build this, we built it. Yeah. We just kind of triaged that
Yeah. Yeah. I love, I've been involved in agile projects for many, many, many years. And the MVP product, discussion is, or the MVP discussion, I should say, not MVP product. That's weird. But
it's like ATM machine.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The product conversation was always very, very spirited, and it really depended on genuinely the level of experience and expertise of the product owner. The ultimate product owner.
Interesting.
And their preferences, their desires, their hopes, dreams, and their level of experience in having those conversations. So sometimes they were very spirited and not in a positive way, Patrick. you
Yeah,
know,
no, I can only imagine. Yeah.
and other times there was that it was an actual conversation of saying, right, we understand where you're at now, and it sounds like your software engineers have got a tremendous ability to be able to understand what you're actually looking for, and then say, okay, this is actually how it could and should be done. This is the best way to build this product, from the ground up. So wonderful. Then you get it out there. So then you're now in delivery, literal delivery mode, and then you're in marketing mode. And
Mhm.
what type and style of experience do you have in marketing mode to be able to get these early adopters, to get this information in their hands, to let them know and understand what the experience is going to be?
Yeah, it was an interesting sort of learning process for sure, because I'd never officially marketed anything before,
Yeah,
but I was an actor, and that's kind of like a microcosm of me being the product, and then
yeah,
also me being the salesperson.
yeah,
I'm trying to sell myself, and of course I had agents and managers and everything like that. I had a team that was also helping me, but I was the face of my brand.
yeah.
So I had a little bit experience with marketing in that regard.
Mhm.
What are our keywords? We had a bunch of people that came on that were some experts in their domain. We hired some freelancers, like an SEO specialist. We got our web designer is incredible. Her name is Jessie Leanne. She actually designed the app as well. And so we were able to work with her on the vision of the website and of course of the app. And so, I hired people to translate the Figma into a website. Like
Yeah,
I just kind of like really just fumbled my way through this. But at the end of the day, I think we're again very lucky because I was an actor, and so I'm very comfortable in front of the camera.
yeah,
And so I'm able to kind of explain the value of MuseFlow to our early adopters if necessary.
yeah,
There were some people that found us organically. A lot of people just found us organically because people were looking for, a different way to learn. People are still very much there. Everybody, not everybody, 85% of people are looking for a different way to learn.
yeah,
That's kind of the drop off after high school.
yeah.
And they cite issues with the actual methodology itself. They
Mhm.
say that, and the reasons why they gave up on music education is because they were frustrated with the way that they were being taught, or they
Yeah.
got bored with the way that they were being taught.
Mhm.
And that just gave me this like massive amount of understanding. I wasn't one of those people, but I understand that like if you had a terrible teacher and if you were forced to learn your instrument in this way, you never found a way to really get down to your core, like you really connect with it fully.
Yeah,
And so there's something in the way, and it's you being taught the wrong way.
yeah,
So people are looking for a new way to learn how to play piano. And
yeah,
we were that person. We rose to the top because we are one of a kind.
yeah,
Nobody else teaches music this way. And
yeah,
so a lot of it was organic, but a lot of it was me just getting the word out, friends of friends. I did a couple podcasts right at the start.
yeah,
That definitely got the word out.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's been a slow journey up. It really has when it comes
yeah,
to our marketing push. But
yeah.
I've kind of been the one in charge of that,
Yeah. And the great thing is when you have something you genuinely believe in, it doesn't become a sales pitch, it becomes a conversation to say, let me
Yeah.
tell you about this thing, and if you have any level of interest in this, I will find a level where we're actually conversing at the same level. Not to mean that people are ignorant or anything, but there's different levels and different types and styles of piano music, and it's that opportunity to listen at a level and say, okay, I know where you are right now. This is what you need to know about this. I assume the conversation would surround itself with, this is how it's different to traditional, in terms of repetitiveness, in terms of, the humdrum of the previous way. And this is where you can get to when you can get to it in a period of time, depending on the work that you have to do. Ultimately, it's about the
Of course.
learner.
Yeah.
to do that. But just that genuineness, and that's what I felt when we chatted before we recorded, and where it's for you, you're just kind of like, this is so simple. I don't understand why not every single person that ever wants to learn the piano doesn't do this. So I'm just going to tell as many people as I can, and that's why I was so drawn to it, and of course drawn to the enthusiasm that you've taken, and the initiative you've taken, the enthusiasm you demonstrate, and the initiative you've taken into actually saying this has to work. And I'm going to put some words out there, and you never said these words to me, but if I don't do this, that would be a complete disservice to the music education industry.
Yeah. If there's a new way, and in my heart of hearts, I know it's better, then, and there's nobody else that really like feels this or knows this or understands it as well as I do. If I don't build this, nobody else really would.
Yeah.
Unless maybe another person does come along and actually has this idea later down the road. I have not found anybody. I've not found a single one yet that has done it the way that we've done it. Not yet, at least.
Yeah. Many years ago, I was chatting with my tattoo artist, and we were talking, and he I don't know, he reads a whole bunch of stuff. He's an artist, so you and him would have a wonderful conversation, and so I'm not of the artistic variety, so the conversations we have are so enlightening and refreshing for me, just to see different perspectives and such. And he says, I read somewhere that at any given moment in time, when you have a very novel idea, something where you say, I've never seen this, I've never heard of this, I've never even come across anything remotely like this, there could be 10 or 20 people in the world that would have the same type and style of idea that could manifest itself into something that would be a game changer. The challenge is that almost always none of the 20 would do anything about it, or one will. And so then it becomes if not me, then who? If not, now, when? And that's the beauty of what you decided to do, and the serendipity of the relationships that you fostered very early on, to say, I have a thing, I was thinking about that thing, and then let's have a conversation with this guy, and then all of a sudden you get that opportunity to take it from an idea and say, let's actually do something about this and see if it's a thing, because we probably wouldn't be able to live with ourselves afterwards if we didn't.
Yeah. It's so true though, right? That there are people that have so many great ideas. There are, and I've heard this before in startup circles too. They talk about this. They're like, ideas are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
It's execution that is the thing that really matters.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in your line of work, when it comes to the product life cycle, I'm assuming you know the same, you think the same, right? Like, there are so many people out there with great ideas. It's execution that separates you from the masses if you actually,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely is. And not that there are no such thing as bad ideas, but there's a lack of understanding of what it takes to bring an idea to fruition. Why don't you just make it like that? Why don't you just move that over there? Why don't you just have the button there? And they don't understand, you mentioned the Figma part, they don't understand how a wireframe becomes, a literal thing that you see on your screen, and how it takes a lot of effort and energy to do that. And there's certain things that can be done, but they could be an absolute disaster, an absolute nightmare to maintain, and they're very, very fragile in the background. So you have to future-proof what you're doing at the same time as actually building. And it's not quite as easy as the person who's standing just pointing, saying, I wouldn't have made it that color, I would have put that over there, I don't even know what you're doing, did you do any user testing at all? Those sorts of things.
But was that person in the room when you were making those decisions? Were they? Because I'm curious. Like, I don't think they were, but tell me I'm wrong.
Mostly not.
Okay. Yeah. Then, like, in my opinion, you have no right to make a comment about something if you weren't there during its, like, true beginning of an idea / honestly, the conceptualization of it. We were talking waterfall and agile before.
Yeah.
And we really do waterfall at the beginning of a feature. We waterfall the shit out of it. We come up with the grand idea, the biggest concept that we can come up with, we put that on paper, and then we give that to our designer, and our designer then designs the full-blown feature.
Yeah.
And then what we give to our engineers is a pared down version of that design.
Yeah.
So it's a mix. It's a mix between waterfall and agile, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have the grand vision already. We
Yeah.
really, really do. And we've designed it so that we can scale as needed. We can build new features within that big feature. We can build the little microcosms as we want to, right? But at least the blueprint is accommodating to the larger idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%.
And it just kind of kills me that like some people don't really work like that, even because like agile can be a religion, but it also can be like a crutch, and it can be a reason why you don't do things. And it's inflexible at times, which is the irony of it all.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Despite the name, yes, exactly. Well, one of the things, whenever there was resistance or what you could possibly, comment as a dumb question or something like that, for me, every time it was an opportunity to exchange in dialogue, to educate them and to be educated by them, to say,
Nice.
tell me why you think that. Tell me why that's important. We didn't talk about this before, because ultimately in these types and styles of environment, Patrick, what I found is that a lot of times we were making assumptions that these people had done this before, but that they were very well versed in this. And then the more time goes on, the more you're thinking, actually, we're growing together at the same time. So when they say something that we would maybe have an eye roll, you say, let's lean into that a wee bit more, and let's just figure out, right, do you know and understand what you're asking for? What would happen if you didn't get it? What does that mean for the customer experience and things like that? Because on other occasions, if we close down the conversation by saying, listen, you don't know how difficult this is, the answer is no, that could be a real genuine opportunity missed and something very, very difficult to undo some point down the line.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I couldn't agree more that notes are a conversation.
Yeah.
They're not top down. No. They're an opportunity for a conversation.
Yeah.
We do that all the time, I mean, we'll have like a 2.5 hour long conversation with our designer when I bring notes to her and I've got questions.
Yeah.
And then we talk about the customer experience and why this would actually be better than this. And we end up either she convincing us or us convincing her that the choice for what is better for the product is going to be what either the or, the end goal is what is best for the product and what is always best for the customer.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And of course there are concessions on every single side, of course, but at the end of the day, it's a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So everything you've talked about and demonstrated in our conversation, both before and during right now, smacks to me as exceptional leadership. What would you say your major leadership lessons have been on your MuseFlow journey thus far?
I mean, it's patience. Number one, I'm not a patient person. I am just not. And so having to but Stephen though is a very patient person.
Right.
It's very methodical.
Yeah.
He's very mind first, and I'm more gut first, right? And so we balance each other out because I'm much faster at making decisions than he is, but he is a lot more considered than I am. And I think we have figured out a way to balance, when is it time to just make decisions, right? When is it time to do that? When is it time to follow our guts? Or when is it time to take our time and be patient?
Yeah.
We figured it out, and I've had to learn very hard that patience is truly something necessary when you're working with people, especially engineers who are doing this just for equity.
Yeah.
And they're not getting paid for it. They're getting paid for future, profits.
Yeah.
And so, but they have a heart in the idea. We're definitely mission focused, of course. Yes. We're mission first. Yeah. They all believe that this product is going to be revolutionary, and we believe it too.
Yeah.
And so patience and understanding, it's a lot of also for me, because I come from an industry where it's very just very creative and very like out there, and a lot of words are being spoken for very little ideas. And like, we're not super blunt. We're not super curt. We're like kind of like creatively kind of go around the idea and swirl around the idea, and eventually the idea will solidify, kind of thing. I'm pretty good at pulling the trigger and moving things forward. I am. Gizzy's a lot more like, hold on, let's take our time. Let's actually think through this. But then our engineers, they speak very differently than we do.
Yeah.
Their minds are just very different than we are. They're very creative in their own right.
Yes.
They are very creative, but they're very creative in an extremely technical way.
Yeah.
And we're creative in a very emotion first sort of way. And so there was a major language barrier between me and one of our engineers right off the bat that we had to just figure out together. We had to really, really get to a head here. And he got to a point where he was like, let's just not communicate. How about everything goes through Steven, okay? And you and I just don't talk directly. How's that? Does that work for you? And I'm like, no, that will never work for me. We're co-founders in this. Do you think that's even possible? And he's like, no, you're right. We do need to be able to talk. And so we needed to find a way to be able to communicate together and with each other. And ultimately, it just, the end of the whole thing, that reframing that we both had to do was that we are experts in our fields. And we both have to respect each other's domain expertise. You know, he's an incredible engineer. He's very proficient at what he does. He makes a lot of money at his day job. And I'm a very good pianist. And I know this product like the back of my hand because it literally is based off of the way that I taught myself. And so when it comes to product decisions, he gets a say. When it comes to an engineering decision, I get a say. But who actually makes the call at the end of the day? It's one or the other. And so we had to, it was all about respect at the end of the day. You know, I said at the end of the day way too many times in that, but you get the point.
No, I absolutely do. And you know, even just lifting the lid a wee bit on the type and style of structure that you have right now, and their equity partners for now with the projected way of being incented in the future, it's another real demonstration of the believing in your product and what it's going to do. And then, you know, this is a thing and you'll get out what you put in, but also the human dynamic, Patrick, of, you know, people behave the way they're incented to behave. So once you set an incentive structure that's meaningful for them, not for you, meaningful for them, then you're going to get the best out of them. If the incentive structure is not meaningful for them, then it's distracting. And then it's something where they're kind of like, well, I'm going to just take it to here, but they're not going to get my absolute best. I'm going to save that for someone else, and I'm going to just hold back a wee bit because why should I? So then it's just it's inspiring to hear that you've set up this model that seems to be working for everyone, that in a very short space of time that you are now in a profit-making, you know, opportunity.
Well, we kind of had to, because we spent so many years to like building this thing. Because we've spent so many years building this thing just on our free time. And we really had to find a way into their hearts. There was no way for them to kind of just do what we wanted them to do, because that's not what they were looking for. One of our engineers, very specifically, is looking to build a company that has integrity, that he can lead the technology, you know, the engineering department. He can lead it with actual, I don't know, ethics. He's been in companies that were just so unethical, and they treated their workers like shit. And he really wants to build a company that is so different than what he's been a part of. And I've had conversations about that with him, and I'm like, I want to do that for you. Like, let's make sure that you build your department that way, with integrity and respect as like the bottom line, you know? And I'm like, that's so cool. So that's his motivation. The other guy, he just wants to build something really freaking cool. And so we're like, cool, let's serve you as well.
Yeah.
He's our front end engineer, and he's actually building the forward facing, the customer facing stuff,
Yeah.
and it looks really cool. And he gets a chance to actually build that. And then when users talk about his implementation, it just goes off the charts. He gets a huge dopamine hit, and he
Yeah.
feels so good about it, right? And
Yeah.
so I always make sure to share with him every piece of user feedback that is positive, because that is a huge motivation for it.
Absolutely.
So it's like you got both of these motivations,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's always better to try to satisfy those than try to strong arm them into trying to fit within your business model. Because we definitely had our own business model kind of lined up, and the idea of it, we already had it. But when they kind of explored and told us their motivations for being a part of this, and knowing that we had to motivate them, even without money, because money isn't a part of it right now.
Yeah.
We had to motivate them without money. It then became like a no-brainer for us. It's like, okay, well, what do you want to work on?
Yeah.
We've got all of these features that we want to build. What do you want to build? And sometimes, because we've opened the door, sometimes they come up with radical ideas that are so cool. For example, we never even thought about this to start, but one of our engineers was like, what about user uploaded music? Why don't we allow people to upload their own sheet music and then use the tools that we have in our repertoire section to learn those pieces? I'm like, why didn't we think about that? He is literally in the middle of building that feature right now.
Wow.
Because he was very inspired by the idea, and he really wanted to make it. And he truly convinced us that this was like absolutely the next step that we should take. You know? So democratizing, I think democracy is a very important thing here. I think we are a republic at the end of the day, because like we do have our domain expertise. Like I'm product, Steven is the CEO. He's kind of like the larger sort of like, no, if we all are in disagreement here, he does make the decision. Right. We have domain expertise for back-end engineering, and we have domain expertise for front-end engineering. And so everybody kind of has their own little piece of the puzzle, and we do lean to each other for our domain expertise, and they're the ones that do end up making the decisions.
Yeah.
But we are the ones that collectively discuss those decisions for hours sometimes before a decision is made by the domain expert.
Yeah, the amount of the amount of diligence and effort and integrity that goes into the back end, that's what I'm really getting from this, and the way that you're delivering the information here is just dynamite. For people to kind of go, it might not actually be that simple as I thought in the beginning. So one thing I did want to ask about, obviously somewhat in your infancy, you have a features roadmap that can and will change depending on user feedback, depending on functionality, depending on doability and things like that. But one of the things that I mentioned very briefly in the bio was, the ability to be able to change education and change that, the influence the education sector, music tech or music and things like that. So educators and parents, where did they fit in to either your current or your future model?
There's motivation for both. One is we've set up a really great affiliate model for teachers. We have a couple private teachers that use this, and they use it as either exclusively a sight reading trainer for their students. So it's like an accompanying tool to their curriculum. Students opt into using it, and if they do, they get 50% off for life.
Right.
And so it's one of those where we give them a coupon code. They get a little affiliate, they get a kickback if their student signs up. It's just, it is what it is. You kind of give the teacher an incentive to use your model. And they're loving it. Like no student has stopped using it from the 3 teachers that we have using usefully. It's so cool to see them continuously progress. They're much slower. I will say this, much more methodical, better word for it, methodical than our actual just customers, right? Our users that are just using this are B2C, right? But our B2B, which is teachers and educators, they're much more methodical about it. They repeat each level so many times before moving on. And it's quite fascinating, but they are it is the snail versus the hare, right? The snail, the snail is just keeping on going. Turtle and the hare, right?
Yeah.
The turtles are sticking with the app longer than some of our just regular customers because they constantly are seeing progress. They're not trying to get the next, I don't know. I don't know what the customers' motivations are and the reasons why I know some of the reasons why they leave. But maybe they aren't telling me the truth. I don't know. Either way, it's just so cool to see students with their teachers actually using this. So that's their motivation. The private teachers, they have an incentive to use MuseFlow with our affiliate model. They get a kickback on initial sign up, and their students can use this indefinitely. It's either a monthly or a 3-month or an annual subscription. You get discounts all the way up the chain up there. So, the pricing structure is pretty much the same, but it's just a 50% off coupon for life that a teacher will get. And that kickback every time a student signs up. Parents, on the other hand, their incentive is, we have 8-year-olds, we have 10-year-olds, we have 13-year-olds, we have teenagers, like all the way up the chain, that their parents signed them up for this. And the reasons why were they wanted them to stop watching TV so much, and they wanted or playing video games, and they wanted something that gave them the same level of dopamine that a video game does. MuseFlow is very good at giving those quick dopamine hits every time you pass a level. Every note that you get correct, you get a little bit of a dopamine hit. It's crazy how we have truly captured what we call the aha moment. We like to call it that. It's the, oh my gosh, I'm getting it. I'm actually understanding it. You can feel the neurons literally connecting, and you're like, I'm getting it. And you're playing it, and you're playing it so well. And then boom, you pass the level. Huge dopamine spike. Right? So we've used gamification to our advantage. We've incorporated that into the learning process. And so parents see that and they say, hey, let me try to get my kid to get away from video games, which is just mind numbing, and actually get them to learn something. And because we've captured those dopamine hits so well, they get addicted and they continuously want to play and progress. So that's their motivation.
And it's not a bad addiction either. Addicted to learning, addicted to progressing.
You're addicted to learning, right?
Yeah. I love that. So one question that I had for you when we were doing a pre-recording was, for right now, it's piano. What does the future look like for people that are saying, not really a piano person, I'm a campfire, ukulele, or an acoustic guitar person, or insert any instrument here? What does that look like?
We're building this for every common instrument. And then, maybe the didgeridoo down the road. But we're definitely building this so that it's scalable to other instruments. We're building the piano curriculum first because it is kind of one of the hardest to build, along with harp. Harp is very difficult to build because it's what we call polyphonic, which is multiple notes at one time. Okay. You've got 10 fingers. Same thing with the harp. You can play 12 notes in total at that time. I play 2 notes with my thumb all the time. And so 12 notes in total you could play at one time. That's a lot to work with. That's very difficult to skill build in this cumulative sort of way that touches on all the different parts of music education. And so we're building it. We're taking the hardest one first, which is piano. We're building that curriculum with sight reading driven curriculum, with repertoire, with exercises in theory. We're building that first. But we're building it in a way that you can just insert any instrument and we'll be able to move from there. We can build the curriculum. We're building it in that scalable way. So give it, a year, I'd say a year and a half, probably. We have guitar on our radar. That is the next instrument that we want to do. We also really want to do drums, because that's actually really easy, and not a lot of apps teach drum. There's a few. Nobody teaches it the way that we do. And so It's much easier than any other pitched instrument. Pitched instrument being like there's pitches, right? And then you've got duration. So those are two things that are different than just, and then you got rhythm. Okay. Rhythm, duration, silence, and pitches. That's what music is made out of, right? And then combining all of those together into a harmonic and dissonant sort of way, right? And that tells the story. And that's music. But drums, that's just rhythm and silence. That's just a beat or a cymbal roll for a little bit. That's it. And then there's silence. So it's rhythm. That's it. And so it's much easier to build a curriculum with just rhythm than it is to build it for, you know, a pitched instrument, especially a polyphonic, multi-notes at one time, multiple notes, phonic, right? Multi-notes at one time instrument. Monophonic instruments, singular, mono, phonic sounds, single sound instruments like a flute or a clarinet or a trumpet, right? It was a little bit easier to do for. Guitar is a very interesting instrument in its own right because you got 5 strings, you've got 5 notes that you can play, 6 strings, no, is it 6?
6 strings,
5, 6. Thank you. 6. You got 6 strings that you can play. And so, and a ukulele is 4, and then you get a mandolin, which is 4, but they're doubled each string. And so you're like, okay, these fretted stringed instruments are very interesting because they're kind of they're in its own realm of polyphonic instruments. But most of the time, they're either playing monophonically, which is just a melody up and down with finger picking, okay? Or you get polyphonic and it's just strum. That's it, which is really just one chord at one time with all the different notes within it. So you're like, that is a very interesting problem to solve on an auditory sort of processing musical learning experience here, right? We have to create the auditory recognition algorithms that turn those sounds into data points. And that takes a lot of effort to do. Fast Fourier transforms. It takes a lot of compression. It takes a lot of kind of equalizing out the diminishing of a note. Like it peaks really hard when you first hit the note, and then it just immediately drops right after the sound hits. It's one of those weird things. And we still have to recognize that sound all the way for so long. It's a problem that we're solving right now. We're in the middle of implementing a really good audio recognition algorithm that we created in Python. We're translating that into JavaScript right now. And soon that will be in the app. I'm very excited for it. But it's a problem that we're in the midst of solving, and we are stoked to be able to do it. And I feel like we got a really great team to do it. There's only one app out there that's been able to do it. It's called Scoov. There's an app called Scoov that can do an audio recognition sort of thing. I think Musician can also do that too, but they don't, here's the thing, do duration of a note. They just care about the onset of a note, not the offset of a note. And we think duration is incredibly important when it comes to any sort of education, music education. You have to know how long you're going to play it for, right? So it's one of those things that we're factoring into the whole audio recognition algorithm that other apps are not. It's a difficult problem to solve, but we're very excited to do it. So that all of those problems come into play when you're trying to make another curriculum for another instrument.
For sure.
But we are building it so that it can be scaled to those other instruments in a couple of years.
Exactly. Well, that was part of our conversation that we had before we recorded, where I said I have had numerous failed attempts at guitar over the years. I used to say I firmly believe that my teachers were out of tune. I just don't understand what happened there, because it can't be anything to do with me. But I had this thought.
Of course not. No.
Why not? But I had this thought, as you said earlier. There's 6 strings, and there are only so many chords. So in my head, I thought, this is an equation of some description. Now, I'm not an engineer, but I understand mathematics. There has to be a way that my brain can train itself to speak to these fingers and then get the tunes out that I wanted. I just don't have that level of diligence or discipline or artistic creativity or patience, quite honestly, to say I need to get this. So I am going to be very much looking out for when the launch of the guitar part of Museflow comes out, and
I'll absolutely let you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
please do that.
Yeah, because we definitely just circumvent the need for discipline.
Yeah.
We inspire you to want to play.
Yeah.
We say, we have people that try out Museflow. They tried it out a year and a half ago, and they signed up a month ago. It's sticky like that. It stays within their mind. You try it once or twice, and you're like, man, I can't. I honestly can't stop thinking about it. I know I'm saying that from the creator standpoint, but I've heard that from users. I'm not making that up, right? It's one of those things that's very, very sticky. The concept of not needing discipline to learn how to play an instrument.
Yeah.
We want you to, we want to inspire you to play it. We want you to come home, and instead of picking up the video game console or sitting in front of the TV, we want you to play Museflow. And we do have people that use it just like that.
Yeah.
They have a very hard job.
Yeah.
And so instead of coming home and just vegging out in front of the TV, they go upstairs and go into their bedroom and play Museflow for 30 minutes. And then it lowers their blood pressure. It lowers their heart rate. It centers them. It gets them in the present.
Yeah.
And then they can actually be with their family and in a present sort of way after that. It's an interesting sort of thing when you just take out discipline from the equation. I love it. And I'm honored to be able to say that I've created an app that doesn't need any discipline to make it, to play it.
I can tell. I love it. I love it. So this, as you know, Patrick, is called the Best You podcast. And that's where I get this opportunity to ask each of my guests at this point in the interview, what's one regular practice that Patrick employs that gives him the best opportunity to be the best version of himself?
That's working out. Honestly, it's exercising every day. I got to wear out my body for my mind to be calm and present and focused. I've got my fidget spinners, my fidget toys. I have ADHD. I got diagnosed 4 years ago, and I'm really happy that I got diagnosed because it finally kind of clicked for me that, like, oh, okay, well, it makes sense why I'm the way I am, but that, a lot, working out helps me, like, very much so, just lower my anxiety. It keeps me focused and present. It allows me to not need to fidget as much. Working out is one of the few things that, like, really truly centers me, along with, of course, playing piano.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Patrick, where can people find out more about you and Museflow?
Just go to the website, www.museflow.ai. You can go to the App Store. If you have an iPad, you can download Museflow on your iPad. We're building the iOS, the Apple phone app. That's coming out soon. Android tablets, that's coming out soon too. But if you have an iPad right now, go and download Museflow. I would love to give your audience a coupon code if you're down.
Absolutely, yes.
Is that okay?
100%.
Why don't you decide, actually? I was thinking Gary 50 or Best You 50. And it would give your audience 50% off for life.
That's incredible. Thank you very, very much for that. I would say Best You 50 would be great.
Okay, great. And we'll put that you could put that in the show notes too. Best You, no spaces, 50, no spaces or anything like that. So you can use that at the beginning of your free trial. There's going to be a little thing that says got a coupon code. Click that, put it in there. Or at your paywall, when you hit it after your 14-day free trial, you can put it in there too. 50% off for life. Wow. Any subscription, annual, 3-month or monthly. Yeah, it's all yours. Spread that around as much as you want. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. I knew this was going to be a dynamite conversation. It, of course, was a dynamite conversation. I literally could have kept going for another 3 hours just to continue the story. We may do this again. I think maybe when the next instrument comes along, we maybe do this again. I've just absolutely loved it.
Okay, great. Love that. Thank you so much.